The distress signal came as a faint, erratic pulse in the cosmic background, a desperate cry for help that no one expected. It was the year 2236, and humanity had long since stretched its reach beyond Earth, colonizing nearby systems and establishing fragile peace treaties with the few alien species they had encountered. But this signal was unlike any they'd received before. The origin was an uncharted planet orbiting a dying star in a distant sector. Its atmosphere shimmered with an unnatural aurora, visible even from the long-range scans. The signal itself was encoded in a language no human AI could decipher, yet it carried a haunting urgency, a plea that transcended language. Commander Elena Park of the starship Aurora's Promise listened to the transmission on repeat during their 3-week journey to the source. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading into something far bigger than a simple rescue mission. The crew, a mix of seasoned explorers and wide-eyed scientists, shared her unease but pressed on. Humanity had a code now: to assist and preserve life wherever it was found, a lesson learned from centuries of war and environmental collapse on Earth. When they arrived in orbit, the planet stunned them. Vast oceans of liquid silver reflected the dying red star like molten mirrors. Towering crystalline spires jutted out from the surface, pulsating faintly with an inner light. But it wasn't just the beauty of the planet that caught their attention. It was the devastation. Entire regions of the planet were scorched, the silver oceans boiling away into toxic vapors. Something had gone terribly wrong. The source of the signal was a massive structure at the planet's pole, half buried in molten crystal. It resembled a biomechanical cathedral, its spires bending and twisting as if alive. As the Aurora's Promise descended into the atmosphere, they detected movement, a swarm of alien creatures emerging from the structure. They were serpentine in form, their bodies composed of a blend of organic tissue and shimmering metal. The creatures were dying, their movements sluggish and chaotic. The crew suited up and approached the structure, their boots crunching on the crystalline surface. As they neared the entrance, the swarm parted, observing them with glowing, multifaceted eyes. Elena took a deep breath and stepped forward, raising her hands in a universal gesture of peace. The largest creature approached, its head tilting in an almost human gesture of exhaustion and pain. Then, without warning, it projected a series of images into Elena's mind: a collapsing ecosystem, a failing planetary core, and the rapid decline of their species. The message was clear. The planet itself was dying, and with it, the creatures who depended on its biomechanical ecosystem to survive. They were symbiotic with their world, connected in ways humanity could barely understand. Back on the ship, the scientists worked frantically to analyze the data they had gathered. Dr. Harlan, the xenobiologist, paced the lab, his face grim. This planet's core is destabilizing. It's emitting some kind of energy field that's tearing the ecosystem apart. If we don't act, the entire planet will collapse within days. How do we stop a planet from dying? Elena asked, her voice tight. Harlan hesitated, then pointed to the holographic projection of the planet. The core seems to be biomechanical, just like the creatures. If we can stabilize its energy field, we might buy them time. But it's risky. If the field overloads, it could destroy everything, including us. Elena didn't hesitate. Do it. Humanity owes it to them, and to ourselves, to try. The operation was monumental. The Aurora's Promise deployed a network of drones to interface with the planet's core, each carrying an energy stabilizer designed by the ship's engineers in record time. As the drones descended into the molten depths, the planet seemed to fight back, its surface convulsing with violent eruptions. The creatures swarmed around the ship, watching silently, as if understanding what was at stake. Hours turned into an excruciating day. The crew worked tirelessly, manually adjusting the stabilizers as the core's energy field fluctuated wildly. At one point, a massive eruption knocked out one of the drones, leaving a critical gap in the network. Without hesitation, Elena suited up and piloted a replacement drone herself, descending into the molten abyss despite the protests of her crew. The core was a sight to behold, a massive, pulsating sphere of light and metal, its surface writhing with tendrils of energy. Elena guided the drone into position, her hands steady despite the sweat pouring down her face. As the stabilizers activated in unison, the core shuddered violently, then began to calm. The energy field stabilized, and the eruptions ceased. For the first time in weeks, the planet was silent. Back on the surface, the creatures gathered around Elena and her team. The largest one approached her again, projecting another series of images into her mind. This time, the message was gratitude, an overwhelming wave of relief and hope. The creatures were no longer dying. The planet, though fragile, was healing. As the Aurora's Promise prepared to leave, Elena stood at the viewport, watching the planet recede into the distance. The crystalline spires glowed faintly, a sign of renewed life. She knew their work wasn't done. Humanity would need to establish a long-term plan to help the alien species rebuild, but for now, they had given them a chance. Harlan joined her, a rare smile on his face. "We did it. We saved a planet." Elena nodded, her gaze fixed on the shimmering world. "No, they saved themselves. We just gave them the tools to do it." The ship turned toward the stars, leaving behind a planet reborn and a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had once fought only for its own survival, but now it fought for something greater, for the countless lives that shared the galaxy with them, and for the hope that the future could be brighter than the past. As the Aurora's Promise charted its course back to human space, the crew's relief gave way to reflection. The mission had been a success, but the cost of their efforts lingered in the quiet hum of the ship. Elena found herself replaying the moment she had faced the planet's core, the alien intelligence's desperate plea still fresh in her mind. She couldn't help but wonder if they had done enough or if humanity had only postponed the inevitable. 3 days into their journey, a strange energy surge rippled through the ship, setting off alarms across every system. Lights dimmed and flickered as the crew scrambled to their stations. The source of the disruption wasn't internal. It was coming from the planet they had just left. A powerful signal, stronger than the original distress call, was now racing across the galaxy. "What's going on?" Elena demanded as she burst onto the bridge. Dr. Harlan was already at the comms station, his face pale. "It's the aliens. They're sending out another signal, different from before. It's a message, but not for us." The crew watched in stunned silence as the ship systems decrypted fragments of the transmission. It wasn't just a message, it was a beacon, a call meant for others. The alien species, now stabilized and given a second chance, was reaching out to a network humanity hadn't known existed. Myra, one of the linguists, stared at the patterns unfolding on the monitor. "It's not just a distress signal anymore. They're summoning help. Other species. Maybe others like them." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "You're saying they're not alone?" Myra nodded, her voice trembling. "They never were. They were just cut off, until now." The realization struck the crew like a tidal wave. Their intervention had not only saved a planet but also reopened channels of communication that had been dormant for centuries, perhaps millennia. The aliens they had saved were part of a much larger network, one humanity had inadvertently stumbled into. Days later, as the Aurora's Promise prepared to jump to the nearest relay station, the ship sensors detected movement at the edge of their range. At first, it appeared as faint blips, unusual but not alarming. Then the blips multiplied. One by one, alien vessels emerged from the depths of space. They were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, each ship a unique fusion of organic and mechanical design, glowing with the same ethereal light as the creatures on the planet. "Are they coming for us?" one of the junior officers whispered. Elena shook her head, her eyes fixed on the display. "No. They're going to the planet." And they were, thousands of them, converging on the reborn world in a silent, coordinated dance. The ships moved with purpose, each one carrying a piece of the puzzle that would help the aliens rebuild their world. It was a reunion, a gathering of a scattered species that had waited for the faintest glimmer of hope. As the Aurora's Promise finally made its jump to the relay station, Elena felt a profound sense of humility. Humanity, so often the center of its own universe, had played a small but crucial role in a story far greater than itself. They had saved a planet, but in doing so, they had also reignited a connection that stretched across the stars. Back on Earth, the news of the mission spread like wildfire. People marveled at the images of the crystalline planet, the biomechanical aliens, and the fleets of alien ships arriving to help their kin. For the first time in generations, humanity's collective imagination was focused outward, not on war, not on greed, but on the possibilities of life beyond their world. The United Galactic Council, a fledgling organization formed to oversee humanity's growing presence in space, declared the mission a turning point in human history. They named the alien planet Aurora's Haven, a tribute to the ship and crew who had made first contact. But for Elena and her crew, the mission was far from over. They knew they would return to Aurora's Haven one day, not as saviors but as partners in its recovery. And perhaps, as humanity ventured deeper into the unknown, they would find themselves called to similar missions, saving not just planets but entire civilizations, bridging the gaps between species and becoming a part of the vast, interconnected web of life in the galaxy. Humanity had come forward to save an alien planet, but in doing so, it had also begun to save itself, embracing a destiny that was larger than it had ever dared to dream.